as you can imagine, these businesses that are in that 10 employee to 200 employee range, it's just, especially out in states like California, particularly California, it's almost impossible to really stay on top of everything. And the cost with, where labor's at to hire a competent HR manager is a solid six-figure spend just for the salary, and then you add in everything else. So it's cost prohibitive for small businesses really to manage HR and risk properly.
Welcome to Insurance Shoptalk. This is the podcast where the world of commercial insurance gets a little closer to home. I'm your host, Eric Stein, and in every episode, we're taking a deep dive into the insurance industry, from the latest news and trends to in-depth interviews with insurtech experts, carriers, and agency newsmakers. We're covering it all. So sit back, tune in, and let's start the conversation. All right, Bill, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. We have Bill Kaley here today with Colony West. Bill and I have known each other at least 10 or 12 years. His agency is in Southern California, and Bill is always doing very unique and innovative things. He's got a great partner as well, Perch Carryman, who's a cool dude. And Bill lives in Newport on the water and is living the good life. Bill, thanks again for coming on.
Eric, great to see you, man. It's been a while.
Appreciate it. So the reason I wanted you on, Bill, we talked about it, is that you are, of course, large P&C agency, focused on all lines, but you're doing some different things that I think agents would like to hear about because it's very unique. I mean, I've seen this occasionally in the folks I've worked with at Insured Solutions, but it's very rare in that you have some HR programs you offer, workforce solutions, training programs in HR. You've even created your own HR company that I'll let you speak on. You offer payroll services, and then you do all the other things that a lot of agents do as well, which will be like assisting with claims oversight, risk management strategies, some helping the clients with technology, and that you have either built or have customized for your clients to integrate payroll, workers' comp, and other things. So in my opinion, you've always been a leader in this unique area, because I always offered, some PEO type services in the past when it was a fit for that particular client, but you were always ahead of the game knowing to do this in-house. A lot of agents I've talked to that are doing some of these unique things are outsourcing a lot of it. And you're doing things in-house, which I like, to kind of go over. So before we get into the full throttle piece, though, why don't you give us an overview of the agency, of you, what got you into insurance, and your background in Perch and such?
Well, thanks for that. Sounded like you were going to start talking about our Tupperware line that we're selling too next. It's a lot of stuff we're doing. So Colony West, we've been in business since 1995. We got started as a result of a market disruption after the Northridge earthquake that happened out here in California. It just presented a market opportunity, and we jumped in. And now we're in the neighborhood of 50 employees in multiple states. So we're still, a small business, maybe towards the middle market range. And we are serving primarily the space of businesses that have anywhere from 20 to 2,000 employees is our sweet spot. So our typical new business client might realistically be in the range of 25 to 500 employees. And we're a generalist. We serve every kind of business out there, and we service all product lines on the P&C side. And we've got a growing group benefit division as well. And that's on the insurance side. And then, of course, we started the other business, which I can go into, or you can ask me questions about, Outlook HR. That was about 5 years ago, to really help bring together a lot of these services that we were providing on a more disjointed basis. And so it's worked out really well.
That's awesome, man. So yeah, let's dive right in. Like, what made you focus on this area? What did you, because you were ahead of your time on that. I mean, that was like 10 years ago when you started a lot of this, as I remember. And what made you, see this horizon? Did you see the client, were they asking for it, or you were at conferences, or just an idea? Like, what happened?
Well, that's a great question. I think all good advisors are always looking for ways to provide value to a client, either one to retain a client or one to have a competitive advantage in the marketplace, right? So we, like a lot of smaller agencies, we're working with maybe third-party partners, always looking for what was new out there that maybe we didn't know about, and how could we bring that to our clients. And what we noticed over the years, like probably everybody else encounters after a while, is that it's just difficult to work with fair weather friends. So maybe you've got somebody that, maybe you don't have a group benefit practice in-house. Now you're going to work with a partner in that area. And sometimes that works out. And then usually those relationships, they just dissipate for a number of reasons. Maybe you've got a payroll partner and you're going to distribute their product, on and on and on. So we just found that when those partnerships weren't really cohesive, and we came to the conclusion it was because they weren't in-house. We didn't have control. They weren't a part of they weren't embedded in our culture. Then the other thing that we found was that the services that we did, brokers were bringing in various technology products, really, especially the Affordable Care Act. So, part of your question, what was a big instigator for us developing it the way that we did? Well, the Affordable Care Act, that really kind of kickstarted a lot of, particularly on the benefit side, a lot of agents and agencies were bringing payroll solutions and technology solutions to help solve the need. They started having to understand payroll and all the compliance, because that was the hub of all the spokes that connected compliance. The payroll was. So there again, it was brokers bringing in these solutions for compliance, and it was really disjointed, and they didn't know what they were bringing to the clients. They were getting into this whole new world of compliance that they didn't really understand. The client ended up a year later not using these platforms. So here's an HR technology, and it's like giving a set of tools to somebody that just bought a Ferrari and saying, go to work. Great, you got the car and you got all the tools, but you don't know what to do with them and where to start. You don't know, how to begin a diagnostic test. So we've just figured, for this to work, we're going to have to bring it together. We have to bring it in-house, and that's what we ended up doing.
That's awesome. Sorry, got a little phone call coming through. I thought I cut my sound off.
I didn't hear it. I thought you were just talking.
Oh, good, good. So I get it now. Yeah, I forgot about your benefits piece, because you and I don't talk about that a lot, and working together in the past. And so that makes total sense, because that was like an overwhelming compliance piece that came upon everyone at the same time, versus the trickle effect of all these different, acronyms that all these small businesses have to, deal with on a daily basis. And then as far as the HR, like, get into a little bit about what you focus on. How do you present that, and how do you present that to the client, the value of adding it in, and when do you do that? Is it for the larger client typically, or are you okay talking to a 20 employee account about it? Like, how does that work?
Well, it's funny. Every business, even businesses that are in the 500 to 1,000 employee range, it seems that virtually everyone we walk into and we do an evaluation on has some kind of a lapse in their HR strategy or their compliance. But as you can imagine, these businesses that are in that 10 employee to 200 employee range, it's just, especially out in states like California, particularly California, it's almost impossible to really stay on top of everything. And the cost with, where labor's at to hire a competent HR manager is a solid six-figure spend just for the salary, and then you add in everything else. So it's cost prohibitive for small businesses really to manage HR and risk properly. I forget I forget how your question
Yeah.
started.
Like, give me like when you approach a client, you're obviously the
Okay.
lead. Yeah, the lead in. I'm assuming is typically
Yeah.
an insurance lead in, right? But then you're going to add this as, hey, these are our additional services, or do you lead in with some HR and risk at first? Like, how do you sell it? I guess because like
Yeah.
clients
Great question.
sometimes don't know or see the value of it, right off.
Well, it's funny. I think an insurance agency manager can relate to the difficulty in getting a PNC agent, for example, to learn how to cross-sell benefits, or a good benefits agent to, start really cross-selling life, and on and on and on, right? So the idea of uh, leveraging your existing client base to introduce other product lines that are relatable to your core product seems a lot easier than it actually is in practice. So that has been a struggle of ours. But the business, the HR business, it actually gets its own customer referrals now. It's really got legs of its own. So we've got a lot of referrals, a lot of accountants, professional consultants in even the insurance space. Now we've got agents that bring on clients that they want to bring value to, and they're interfacing with Outlook HR directly. So it's kind of cool to see. But on the insurance side, so we call all of our agents advisors now. We went to that model. They do get in. Their front door is workers' comp or auto, the marketplace in California. PNC is just on, it's falling to pieces. So they're walking in on, somebody's getting an increase on their insurance, and our strat, we've learned over the years how to get better and better at getting them to get in the door on this product and pivot now to other, not just products, but services. So right away, they kind of focus whether workers' comp is an easy area, and the group benefits, because those do tie in. You got claim, all the things that touch workers' comp, group benefits, and employment practice liability. Those really are touched by or managed by the HR person, right?
Right.
And then they touch into, okay, so on your work comp, do you have job descriptions? All the things they're going to touch, work comp audit, work comp claims, right? Those tie right into your HR efficacy. What kind of payroll system then are you using to help manage that process? Okay, now group health, what kind of technology you're using for your onboarding, for your ACA compliance, all of these things. And then employment practice liability. If they've had any type of claim, what was the cause of that? And then how does that, and then it just ties right into your HR. And then so they're trained to ask very specific questions, and they pivot right away to an easy short form assessment that we've created. I did 6, 7 questions, and 10 out of 10 of the small businesses that respond to those questions, they want to move over to a consult on the HR side. It works very
Nice. No,
effectively.
that is shrewd to make that a brief 6 questions instead of, because in HR, I just from selling the PEO concepts, you can go into like 50 things, areas. But keeping it simple for your team and having that advisor name, I think is very shrewd of you, to make sure they bring in these other areas. Like I said, that other agents aren't really speaking about, they're talking more about risk management, claims management, I would assume, where you're heading with that and HR.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But it really, even talking about claims, trying to get somebody that is coming from a background of talking about work comp rate. I'm going to shop you to the market. We have, whatever talk track that they've been trained on to get a B of R for a few carriers, and squeeze, I'm going to squeeze a better price for you. It is difficult. A lot of people don't want to learn even work comp claims, or how to talk about work comp claims, how to effectively manage a claim. If you don't know how to do it, if you haven't been trained on that, that's a difficult conversation to have. So it's understandable the reticence that a lot of people have. And then getting into, well, how to prevent work comp claims to start with, if you've never run a business or managed one, yeah, it's a tough body of knowledge to soak up overnight. So so we try to keep it real easy. They don't have to learn HR. They do over time. They sit in on all of our educational meetings and going out on presentations with the HR team. They gradually learn it. Some learn it more rapidly than others because of the questions they ask. But yeah, 7 questions that are the areas that we've found virtually every business is struggling with or just completely unaware of.
So yes, you mentioned a few things like in the nitty gritty of the HR services you offer. So you've got employee handbooks, job descriptions, anything else you can name off like the normal services that most of these business owners are interested in?
Yeah, so we've broken it up for us in kind of 5 legs, if you will. So there's the work comp component of it, so the group health component of it, payroll and technology, because like we use the E system like a lot of people use, and that kind of ties in with payroll. Then we've got training, which is a big part of HR that a lot of our customers didn't even really think about. They didn't correlate that as an HR function. And then documents, so the stuff that you just mentioned. So some clients will get in and they just want some training. Maybe they just need their sexual harassment training done and they just want to start there. So we'll go in maybe on a project and do that, or maybe a client gets referred to us. There's a claim of harassment and they want an investigation done. So we'll get in on that. So we get in the door sometimes just off of one very specific area. 9 times out of 10, though, the conversation, again, so now the HR advisor's in there having a conversation with the client, asking some more questions, and they determine that they have needs that are much broader than that specific need at the moment, and they bring us in as a advisor on a fee-for-service basis.
And is that how it's mostly done, all fee for service, right?
Yeah, sometimes we'll get on just the payroll, and that's we just charge them like any payroll service would. Sometimes clients, that's again the immediate need. We're taking them, we're quoting the work comp, and we bring up the payroll, and they're not happy with ADP, and so we'll bring in our payroll platform and get started there. But then again, our HR advisors are helping them with that onboarding process and cleaning up deficiencies they had with ADP. People were misclassified for workers' comp and they weren't properly set up on the time and attendance, and so then that just leads to a whole host of other things. But that's another area where they might get in directly with the client.
Nice. And then obviously, so like you were saying earlier, this preventative piece as it relates to, let's say, EPLI, that's a given because you have to have all your policies and practices in writing and follow certain protocols when things happen like harassment or any kind of DOL claim, right? Or unemployment issues sometimes can turn into some maddening HR issues too. So your HR team is all versed in handling that. How many folks do you have on the HR side now?
We've got 8 people on that team now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember when I think you were outsourcing before you created your own, so that is great.
Yeah, I mean, and that's again, that's the tough. I mean, it was a big investment for sure. And there are so on the payroll piece, we've got a partner in that. On the we do bring in OSHA too, and we've got a partner on that. So usually when the client wants us to talk, help them out, they want us to. So our contracts on the HR side will, again, they'll break it down into those 5 legs, and maybe they don't really want the work comp claim oversight, and they don't want payroll or audit assistance. But if they do, that's usually when they'll bring in our OSHA partner as well. But yeah, I mean, that's the tough thing is how do you build something one that you don't have the budget for, and 2 that you don't really have a skill set for. So
Yeah,
we
those
just,
HR folks are expensive. I mean, especially California, if they're located in California.
yeah, yeah, don't remind me. Yeah, that they're very pricey.
But it's worth it though. I mean, you knew Cherie, who we both, had worked with in HR. She's one of the best I've seen. I've never seen someone have an HR have such a business mindset and a sales and service mindset. Normally it's just they're very like a regulator, from the or somebody from the IRS or something, or that they're just, it has to be done this way and that's it. And I've seen some shrewd, in a good way, HR people that can really come in and the client owner's like, wow, I didn't know this. I need this. Thank you for the way you're handling this. It's like a owner to owner discussion, with an HR person. Those are the best,
Well, Sheree was awesome, and yeah, we were disappointed that we weren't able to bring her on board when we started this thing. Um, and it, but to your point, yeah, it's been such a great business because it just creates such a different dynamic. I remember years ago we had this for us. It was very large. It was a 600 employee blood lab. They were growing through private equity, but by acquisition, they were going bonkers, and then we lost them like that by B of R um, because they got acquired. They were getting acquired by another private equity company, and so Marsh came in and they just they were doing the M&A work, and like that took precedent. The person that was in that advisory consultant role, the insurance, all of a sudden us lowly insurance brokers, we were just they just signed a paper. That was the depth of years of relationship and doing great work for them. And ever since then, I think that event, which resulted 10, 12 years later in us starting out like HR, it always stuck in my mind that we have to figure out how to have a different relationship with the client, one where they're relying on us and we're embedded part of their daily business, not just selling them a product once a year.
exactly. And again, not just the insurance piece, it's a lot more.
Yeah. And so these HR advisors, yeah, they're sure would have been amazing. The gal that we started with, Evelyn, it's so funny. She came from a PEO.
Mhm.
And so it's great because she'd worked with so many businesses and early on, and she and I laugh about it a lot because she got concerned we were trying to put in her a sales role. And we were like, no, 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 you're not doing sales. In the back of my mind, I knew that she was going to be a great salesperson. And so she laughs about that, and she loves that aspect. But a good salesperson, I feel that's what they are. They're just a good listener and they're a good consultant, and that's why she's so good because she listens and then knows how to ask the right question.
Right. It's almost like an attorney too, in that the way they go become an HR specialist becomes like an advocate,
Yeah,
the attorney that is like, oh man, this person's got my back. Like, the owner's thinking like, wow, like they're watching out for me,
yeah,
keep
and
me
I'll
out of
tell you,
trouble, and so on. The way they present it. And again, the good ones like the Sharia and me, it sounds like Evelyn are very flexible to say that the owner said, no, I don't want to do it that way. And they go, okay, well, how about this option? This would be legal too.
yeah, and I'll tell you a really interesting thing that we observed is that our insurance agents sitting in on a lot of these presentations and these assessments, they've gotten much better at asking questions and listening. Because again, we were, me included. I mean, I was really trained on how to just, overwhelm the client with, sell, 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 sell. And even though I heard all this stuff, you've got two ears and one mouth that just goes out the door when you're trying to, earn a paycheck. And so they've all become much better at being really good advisors and better agents, getting bigger insurance deals, picking up B of Rs. Most of our insurance business is by B of R now. They've gotten so good at that. And I really think that it's a big part of that has been the kind of free ancillary training they've received by sitting in on these HR presentations.
Absolutely. And then as far as it relates to workers' comp and risk management, HR, like, can you give some examples of what they do in the HR area to help support the client there and help reduce claims, help, return to work programs? Like, what are they physically doing, there?
Oh gosh, I
You
was afraid you were
recall.
going to ask me technical questions. That's
That's an HR question.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they can help with a risk manager could help with return to work as well as HR, right? Because you have to, have a process
All
there.
the above. It's all the above. So it's it's really assessing not only the client's, gaps, but then it's assessing the client's attitude with regards to the stuff too. So you were mentioning earlier, what does the client want to do or not want to do, and then figuring out a way to pivot around that, try to really come back and give them what you know that they need in a way that they can afford, not just financially, but time wise, and do they have the operational bandwidth to do the stuff that they've brought you in to do, but they need to participate in. So it's on the work comp, it all ties in, and that again, that's why we did this. Anything that you do, an insurance agent will think of risk management as industrial risk, warehouse stuff, fleet exposure. We look at risk management at really it leads from HR. The fleet management starts at, how's training done? What technology are you using to make sure the SIP program is followed, that the DMV pull program is followed, that it's implemented, that one exists. That ties into your OSHA monthly trainings. That ties in the culture of safety that is created or not. It really it ties in then to the culture of how do we look at workplace safety and claims. So then claim incentive programs or safety incentive programs. How are we self-monitoring? That ties into just your hiring policies and procedures. Do you have job descriptions? Do you it ties into looking at the benefits that you're offering more holistically, and not just, okay, here we've got that box checked, but like what's it doing for us organizationally, at a strategy level, and a culture development issue. So now it's really looking at culture. So now it's bringing in businesses that really didn't understand how vital culture was, to turning that, a year or 2 years later, a lot of our clients are just really new organizations in terms of how they interface with their employees. And it touches everything, Eric. Again, the work comp claims, the vehicle accidents that you're having, the turnover that you're not having, the EPLI lawsuits that you're not having. It all ties in.
And P&C agents, have you run into Byberg, which is a Berkshire Hathaway company quoting workers' comp for either your prospects or clients? Well, great news. Insured Solutions, a national MGA, has an appointment that is set up to allow you to quote, bind, and service Byberg at your agency. And the coverage is in all states. It's A-rated. Startups are even accepted. There's 125,000 maximum premium. And some of the tough industries they write are construction, transportation, that includes towing and parcel delivery, manufacturing, security guards that are armed and unarmed, motor mediation, and many more. So go to our website at insuredsolutions.net, click the Get Appointed link. We'll get you logins for you and your team, and can set up a webinar for training if you'd like. Also, feel free to email info@insuredsolutions.net, and I can handle the submission myself, or call 770-402-5343. Be glad to speak to you and give you more detail. Thanks. Of course, that then turns your book of business into an enviable book, in that the carriers start to see more success with lower claim activity, more cooperation with the risk and safety if the carrier is offering any of it. And then I'm hoping you get benefits for your contingency bonus, for having a cleaner book because you brought these folks in. I mean, is that true, number one? And do you spend that when you're going after a new market to get a new carrier too, that you've got this HR component?
I'm going to record this snippet or send it to me so I can forward it to all of our market partners. Yeah, we do. It does translate into, so we've got some cool programs with a couple of our partners. One of them in particular, we've got a little agency captive with, and we're able to direct that thing is, I mean, our loss ratio is under 15%. It's been
Whoa.
around for years now.
Is that workers' comp?
Yeah,
Oh,
we're able to determine which accounts go into that program and not, and it's and we know how to identify those clients. We look just if our work comp claim handling part is another component that we brought in house. So we've got some work comp claim managers that are super seasoned, and what we started doing is tracking the efficacy. So we were providing the service. We were like, we kind of know anecdotally that we're getting results, but how do we data track this? And so we started doing it, and we were getting better results than we realized. The clients that allowed us to manage and oversee their claims for them, what we do is we input the claim at its highest reserve amount and then what it closed for, and we're getting claims closed on average. It's about 60% below what they were reserved for of the claims that we're managing. So yeah, so we definitely use that as advertising with markets that we might be struggling to get, or especially with clients that are like, okay, yeah, everybody tells me that they help me with my claims. Or we hear that a lot. Yeah, my agent's managing claims. Okay, great. Let me, have they given you some examples of what that actually looks like? Because here's what example of our work comp claim report looks like. And here's the results of our claim management over the last 3 years. So yeah, we use that, we track that data, and we use it to help retain clients, win clients, and strengthen our relationships with our partners on the carrier side.
absolutely. I mean, then other than claims though, like, have you seen a carrier's eyes open a little wider when you say you got 8 HR folks on staff and here's what they do to help mitigate law? I mean, do they get it? I don't know if the carrier side is sophisticated enough to know this, or do they just see the results or appreciate it, I guess is a better word.
I think, yeah, as long as they just want to see the end result at the end of the day. Fortunately, we haven't really had any carrier issues. We seem to be giving them enough business, and it seems to be profitable enough. I wish I could say that on the auto side with a couple of the markets, but yeah, on the work comp side, they seem to be pretty happy. I think where it helps us is if you've got an account that's got some hair on it, and you're really trying to get them to either take it or give you some better pricing, and they know what we do. So when we say, hey, here's all these services that a lot of our partners know about, or if they didn't, we remind them. So we have some other, and this is a partner that we use, but they do really cool uh, uh, they handle claims out in the field, basically. So it's not a nurse on call service, which a lot of people use. This is nurse on call, but the nurse actually goes out to the job site and treats the first aid, and their efficacy data is amazing. So we got an account, and we tell the underwriter, hey, here's all the services that this client is paying for. We're not even giving them this client is paying for these services.
Oh yeah,
Implement them. And I mean, that's huge, because the underwriters, they hear all day long, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. When they can see it, and here's a contract that we just signed the client up with, and they're paying for this stuff, that goes a long way.
absolutely. Yes. Because again, in the PNC world, all the agencies say we do this, whether in-house or not. Or some are honest and don't and say they don't offer it, for like claim service, because that's very intense, if they're not a large agency. But yeah, so that I hear you, that the fact that the client is paying an additional fee, that means they are absolutely getting the value and the service is actually being performed. It's not just this one, one or two scenarios of a claims manager and maybe a risk manager on staff. It's hard to service that, hundreds of clients properly.
plus that was another kind of going back to the circling back to the genesis of all this. I mean, it was, we've all heard that, you value something according to what you've paid for it. And we were doing what everybody else was doing. We were bringing a lot of shit and then we were just giving it for free just to try to win a B of R or a piece of business. But again, the client, it had zero value because the client wasn't using this stuff. They didn't value it. So when you pay for something, we had to start charging for it because, we started hiring staff now dedicated to managing all this stuff and bringing resources in-house. So it's a whole different ball game. But in addition, we just really believe that once a client engaged us as an advisor separately from the insurance service we were providing, that they would utilize this stuff in a way that they weren't before. And again, with our help and actually overseeing it, that was the other big thing. You bring these things and you leave it to the client. Like I said earlier, the client doesn't know what to do with these tools. So a big game changer was us just managing that for them.
Right, that hand holding and I guess, knowing you, every little component you offer with HR, payroll, and so benefits, everything has a process and
Oh yeah.
of enrolling, of managing it on a day-to-day, the new hires, additions, everything you have to do with payroll and benefits, terminations, and you guys are hand holding this thing all the way through. So the client doesn't have to think, they just follow.
Yeah, exactly. And that's been a game changer. It's been a game changer, Like I've even learned so much leave of absence tracking. I didn't know that was a thing when we got into this. But our larger clients, that's a big ass deal for some of them. So yeah, they lean on us to manage that. Some of our clients, we've actually become their 100% outsourced HR department, and we go on site. But even for an agency that doesn't have that or doesn't want to go to that extreme, just having so if we hadn't built out that HR business, what we still would have done is got dedicated staff to all the third-party resources that we're using. And again, we still use third-party technology and some third-party resources even in this separate business. But if we hadn't done that, we would have had somebody dedicated to just managing all those for the client. We were going to charge them for it and just pushing it in a way that an insurance agent doesn't have the bandwidth nor the skill to do.
Right. It's hard enough just getting the appointment and doing finding out what the need of the client is on insurance, nonetheless, trying to go into a whole other area that unfortunately we as agents are not as familiar with,
Yeah.
unless you've been around it, a long time, like you were saying. So, and then have you seen a client's reactions? Well, I guess the bigger piece would be your retention. Like when another now party comes in to try to get a BOR, get their business, but on the insurance side, are you able now do they see the value in these extra services? And I'm assuming they're going to ask that agency, hey, are you offering HR and payroll and being admin, Because
Yeah.
are you getting retention out of this?
Oh, big time. Yeah. It's usually you'll lose if you're a good agency and you've got, you know how to maintain relationships and do a decent job on the service, you're going to retain your clients. But the big risk factor is, when somebody else comes into the HR role or the CEO role and they want to bring in their relationships. So it's not that we still don't lose clients, but it'll take them a lot longer because now they go, okay, we're going to sign over the insurance. Well, no, they're handling everything. You can't just sign over the benefits because the benefits is tied to all this stuff. Work comp, they're doing the claim management. They're handling our audits. They're just the OSHA training. They're doing that. Yeah, you can't pull the work comp. So it's really been a joy to watch when that's happened and you get somebody that that they're trying to unseat you out of that vendor relationship and they just can't.
No, I think you figured out that that's a good formula I keep rolling back to this conversation of a PEO, but you're doing a lot of work that a PEO does typically, unlike a PNC agency. And they tie all these services together. And so it's hard to unplug because everything's so, golden handcuffed onto the client. The PEO's got like a 90+% retention rate because of it versus just selling a work comp policy, which is probably what, 60.
Yeah, and you've got multiple people advocating for you. So you might have that one person that comes in and they want to get you out of there, but then you got the HR manager advocating for you. You've got the warehouse manager advocating for you. I mean, if you're doing a good job, it's on all those components, and especially once you get that payroll piece, I mean, if it's a really embedded payroll platform, they're using all the various components of it, and you got 150 employees, you got to get on a new platform. That's a new benefit enrollment platform now. Yeah, that's a hassle.
And on the payroll side, so did you say, you said that's a partnership? You're not doing that really in-house, or are you?
We've got a partner. So what we do is it's a 50-50 partnership. Our 50% partner, they handle all the tax, all the technology, everything like that. And then we just go in and manage all the onboarding, and we access the system, and we act as the distribution arm of it.
So do you have payroll techs too, or they actually are day-to-day doing the payroll, or do the partner handle
The
that
partner
part?
has all that.
But you do all the onboarding because you need to have things set up the way you need it for that client in
Yeah.
regard to bin admin and things of that nature, right?
Yes, exactly. There's some companies that they'll do that, and they'll be system agnostic, and they've got to learn dozens of payroll systems to go in. And we just made the determination, the platform, the technology we use, it's one of the top out there, and we're either the client wants to go into our platform or stay on there. So we can't deliver the service as effectively if they want to stay on, say, their ADP system or whatever system they're on.
Yeah, and then have you had, going back to that retention question, have you had to say to a client, hey, if you move this insurance piece, we can't offer these other services, or will you do them in little silos depending? Like,
We'll do it in silos, but the price goes up. So they get a discount on the HR stuff by being an insurance customer.
nice.
Yeah, so that's one component. And again, we kind of walk them through how being their partner on both the systems, especially the payroll systems and the onboarding systems, and even the HR technology. Like, we've got a handbook builder, we can do it for them, or they can go in and maintain it. So we have an electronic work comp. This is a partner platform, but it's really cool. They can go in and input all their work comp claims. It'll update their OSHA log. It'll do the electronic reporting. So we just let them know, like, it all works hand in glove very well. And so, yeah, you can move the insurance, but the price is going to go up. And then whoever is servicing your insurance, that if it's benefits or the work comp, it's not going to be as fluid.
Yeah, it's not integrated with the same
Yeah.
product, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
benefit to that. And then as far as anything new that you might be thinking of for the future, any forecasting right now? Anything you're looking at adding another type of product or service that's unique, or just continuing to build upon what you've already built?
Well, we are looking, we're looking at making our audit. So right now, the audit service that we provide on work comp is just, it's been something that we haven't really focused much marketing and time on. So we just help clients out with their audits, and sometimes they take a lot of time. And so we ran into a firm that we might partner with. They're one of these companies. They go into 100 different payroll systems, and they'll go help make sure that all your payroll is classified correctly, and just handle that payroll reporting and audit process. So we're thinking about bringing that in-house, training up our staff on that, or using them, because I think it'll be what we'd like to do is what we used to do. We used to go in and do work comp XMod audits.
Right.
We were able to go back and find errors and get recoveries for clients. We shut that business down because it was just really labor intensive. But we're thinking about deepening that service. That's a big issue for some of these clients. They're overpaying on work comp and they don't even know about it. And they don't understand. A lot of businesses we found out they don't get the difference between reconciliation of payables and receivables versus auditing those. And the work comp's a big area where reconciliation doesn't happen, and carriers are making errors on the application of the XMod or mid-year changes, especially when you get into contractors with, split class codes for payroll. And so we're thinking that there might be a good opportunity there to be a better service and value to our customers.
Yeah, I've noticed in some of the carriers we work with, they're getting strict too about compliance in that you don't respond, of whatever they've asked for and all of what they've asked for, they'll cancel your current policy and they're going to send you an estimated bill for the
Yeah.
past policy. So it just starts to snowball. And then guess who looks like an idiot? Us, the agent, when it was really a client really not, understanding what to do or how important it is. So I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, and that's why we start, and that's why I get how it all, that one question you asked, it's what specific things are you doing? They all tie in. They just all tie in. So if you're not setting up, the agent looks bad, and so all you got to do is you got to set it up properly in the beginning, and it makes such a difference. That's why we started even on the insurance side. If they're not doing HR with us, we ask for job descriptions now so that we can help make sure they're set up properly. If it's a new business, helping them make sure that they're set up correctly going forward. But even if it's an existing business, we find so many errors when we look at their job descriptions to their class codes, and we try not to advertise going back and helping them collect money because you're really time consuming. But at least in that current policy year, we can make a huge difference.
Yeah, and hopefully these new AI technologies are going to make things easier, let's say for you on the back end to help the client, see the discrepancies quicker, either mod or audit.
That would be really cool. It's because it's all such time consuming stuff.
Right. It's got to be manually handled. So you would think that would, be something on the horizon out there. If not, you got to start that company. AI for work comp audit.
Let's get started.
Let's go. And then it's kind of as a final question. Any advice? Do you have any advice for other P&C agents that are thinking more about adding these services? What would you recommend? Do you start out outsourcing and get the process down of selling it to the client? Would you recommend just starting out in-house? Like any other, I don't know, just tips of things you've learned, by creating this model?
I would start out definitely with third-party partners, because there's just such a learning curve, and it's tough enough doing everything else that we do in insurance, and it's not getting easier. So yeah, work with third-party partners. Start with one or two things if you're not doing anything right now, and really focus on that. Lead with that. Shine lights on it. Just make it look like the most amazing thing that the client's never heard of. And a lot of times the clients haven't. So we still, we're always looking how to improve, how to remind the client what we're doing and the value of all these things. That's the problem with doing so much. It's now that all these individual things that we used to shine big spotlights on, they're all just part of one package. So at an agent, that's kind of the virtue of having a real slimmed down menu, right? If you only have 5 items to choose from, it's easier to make a choice. So get a third-party partner, figure what that's going to be, create some marketing behind it, sell the shit out of that, and then make the difference be, we're going to manage this for you. Yeah, you've heard about this, or maybe your agent gave you this, but how has it been benefiting you over the last year? It's probably not been providing any benefit because you probably forgot about it. So this is how we're going to be different. We're going to manage this for you, and we're going to get the results that the service promises or the product promises. And that's kind of easy to do. You can get an existing staff member to be the expert on that, to, just create a process of following up if the client's not using it. The owner of the business or the manager, they might have somebody tasked with handling this service you're delivering, but they're not doing it. And so now if you provide a lot of value by just going, hey, Joe's not been using the claim reporting service. That's we struggle with that all the time, but that's why they renew our service, because if their staff isn't doing their job, we're letting the owner know, and we're driving change. So again, that's the benefit of having a slimmed down service portfolio, is you can really sell the shit out of that and make it look way more valuable than maybe it is, and promise that you're going to drive that service for the client.
Right. No, that's smart. And again, it's kind of that minimum viable product concept. Don't go hire 2 or 3 HR folks, which is undoable if you're just getting into it anyway. But go ahead and outsource it to begin with, get your feet under you, and then, expand from there like you did. Because it probably took you, what, 5+ years to get it in-house, didn't it?
Well, it's probably taking longer than that. I mean, I think a lot of our competitors were just, we were bringing in various third-party partners or developing some capabilities internally, and over 20 years, and we just weren't doing a great job at after the client was sold. We weren't doing anything with regards to helping the client, implement that, and we weren't reminding them of that, and there was really nothing to remind them of if they weren't getting any value. So we've been developing that over decades, and it was when we got to the realization of what we need to do to solve this problem that every agency is having. It took a year or so to develop the concept. How are we going to package it? Policies, procedures, then hiring, the right person. What systems were we going to end up settling on? That kind of thing.
Right. And I like that you, again, are charging an extra fee for the service, discounted if they have the insurance with you, like you said. That way you're able to go ahead and scale at that piece, getting revenue from that, and hopefully covering cost plus. And then, once you see that there is interest or it's working, then you've got the revenue coming in to go ahead and start hiring.
Yeah, no, that bit is funny. That business runs about a 30+% profit margin. So it's been like I said, it was an investment when we lost our ass obviously in first couple of years, because you're bringing on expensive payroll and everything else. But it's a really profitable business, and actually we're going to be increasing prices because we're running into businesses that are using similar services, and they're charging a lot more and delivering way less than what we're bringing to the table. Most of these HR advisory firms were started by HR people, so they don't have the benefit compliance piece down. They don't have the work comp or the OSHA compliance piece down. And they don't have the technology solutions generally for claim reporting, for ACA compliance, for payroll. So they're just they're the HR advisory people, helping them with all the documents.
Hire, fire policies.
Yeah, exactly. And that's super vital and important, but that's, again, one leg of what, you go to any of our clients and ask them what the HR person handles. Well, it's a lot more than what the typical HR outside advisory consultant is bringing to the table.
Well, makes total sense. Total sense. No, that's really good advice. I appreciate you sharing that. Anything else you wanted to get across before we have the exit?
When are we having a beer?
This soon, man. I got to get out there. That's my favorite place in Newport Beach.
A Stein with Stein.
That's it. We got to change the podcast name.
No, no, thanks for the invite, and this has been fun. It's been good catching up, and um, no, good luck, and good luck to everybody out there. And it's been fun to kind of recap what we've put together over the last 25 years.
No, congratulations on your growth, and that percentage of profit that you built with just the HR that's a shocking number. I think it's probably what, the 20 to 25% range at its best in insurance. So you've outdone yourself, with that piece, with the margin. So congrats on the agency, what you're building, being a leader and sharing all this with everyone so everyone can learn from what, your mistakes slash how you built it, so I appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's been fun. Thanks, Eric.
Hey, Bill, coming back on for a second, we forgot to talk about how do we get in touch with you? How do people have questions? Maybe they want to, partner with you in some HR capacity or questions of how to build this because you've been so, forthright with everything. How do people, well, what's the best way to catch you?
Sure. Phone be great. They can find us at the info@colony-west.com. That comes to me, or they can call my extension 212 at the toll-free number 877-542-4870. Love to have a chat with anybody.
Excellent. No, again, thanks for what you've kind of given everyone. And I'm glad we got your contact info back in. So here we go.
Thanks.
Thanks again for tuning in to Insurance Shop Talk. If you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest trends, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, I'm Eric Stein, and this has been Insurance Shop Talk.